In the year 1720, the richest and most powerful man in Europe was a Scottish gambler and a convicted murderer. He had escaped a death sentence in London, fled across the continent, and talked his way into running the entire economy of France. He did it with an idea so radical it still rules your life today: that money does not have to be gold, that money can be paper, that a nation can simply print it. For one dizzying year, he made a whole country believe it. He invented the word millionaire. He turned shopkeepers into aristocrats overnight. And then the whole thing collapsed so completely that France would not trust the word bank for another 100 years. His name was John Law, and he did not set out to rob France, he set out to save it. That is what makes this the most dangerous kind of crime, the kind that begins as genius. The history of money is the history of crime. Welcome to the vault. He is born in Edinburgh in 1671, the son of a goldsmith who lends money on the side. So from childhood, John Law watches the family trade. He learns that the gold in the vault is only part of the business. The real magic is the lending, the paper, the promises. He is tall, charming, and frighteningly good with numbers. He moves to London and he gambles. But this is not luck. Law studies probability like a science. He calculates the odds at the table and bets only when the math favors him. He almost always wins. And then, in 1694, it all nearly ends. Over a woman, John Law fights a duel, and he kills his opponent with a single thrust. He is convicted of murder and sentenced to hang, but Law escapes from prison and flees England with a price on his head. For the next 20 years, he is a wanted man, drifting through the gambling houses of Europe, Amsterdam, Venice, Genoa. And everywhere he goes, he watches how money moves. He becomes obsessed with one question that will make and destroy him. Why should a nation's wealth be limited by how much gold it happens to dig out of the ground? Law's answer is heresy. Money, he decides, is not gold. Money is trust. Money is whatever a people agree to accept. And if money is only trust, then a clever government does not need more gold. It only needs to print more paper and make people believe in it. It is one of the most powerful ideas in history, and he is about to test it on 20 million human beings. In 1715, the old king, Louis XIV, dies, and he leaves France utterly, catastrophically broke. Decades of war and palaces have buried the nation in debt. The treasury is empty. The coins are being clipped and debased. Power passes to a regent, Philippe, Duke of Orleans, a clever, exhausted man desperate for any way out. And into his court walks John Law, with a plan to conjure a fortune out of thin air. First, the bank. In 1716, Law opens the Banque Générale, and it does something France has never seen. It issues paper banknotes. You hand the bank your heavy, unreliable gold coins. It hands you clean paper, redeemable for coin whenever you like. And a miracle happens. The paper is easier to carry, easier to trust, and trade explodes. The economy wakes up. Law is hailed as a genius. But the bank is only the engine. Now Law builds the machine it will power, and the machine is a company. He takes control of the trading rights to France's vast colony in North America, the Louisiana Territory, the Mississippi. On the map, it is an empire. In reality, it is mostly swamp, mosquitoes, and a few starving forts, but almost no one in Paris has ever seen it. So Law sells them a dream. The Mississippi Company, he promises, will return mountains of gold, silver, and silk from the New World. He prints lavish images of thriving colonies that do not exist. He merges the company with his bank, so the two become one vast machine. And then he sells shares. Anyone can buy a piece of the future of France. And here is the masterstroke, the trick at the dark heart of it all. His own bank, now the Royal Bank, prints fresh paper money and lends it to the public to buy his company's shares. Think about what that means. He creates the money, and he creates the thing you spend it on. He controls both sides. The share price catches fire: 500 livres, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. A narrow Paris street called the Rue Quincampoix becomes the beating heart of the frenzy. Duchesses and footmen claw at each other to buy. Servants become rich enough to buy carriages and then ride in them past their former masters. A new word is invented to describe these people: millionaires. John Law is no longer a fugitive gambler. He is the most sought-after man in Europe, and the regent makes him Controller General, the master of France's entire economy. But a machine that prints money to buy its own stock is not an economy, it is a bubble, and every bubble obeys one law. It must keep finding new buyers, new money, forever. The instant it cannot, it dies. And quietly, the cleverest men in Paris begin to notice the truth. Louisiana is not sending back gold. There is no fortune, there is only the printing press. One prince, it is said, sends his servants to the bank with stacks of paper notes and quietly demands real gold coin in return, cartloads of it. He is cashing out, and once a few insiders start trading paper for gold, the spell breaks. To stop the panic, Law does the only thing his machine can do. He prints more money, floods of it. But now there is far too much paper chasing far too little gold. Prices of everything soar. The money in your hand is worth less by the hour. The people rush to the bank to swap their paper for coin all at once, and the vaults, of course, are nearly empty. The gold was never really there. Law passes desperate laws. He bans citizens from owning more than a tiny amount of gold. He makes the paper the only legal money by force. It does not work. You cannot order people to believe. The share price collapses from 10,000 livres toward nothing. Fortunes made in a month evaporate in an afternoon. The new millionaires are paupers again. In the crush outside the bank, people are trampled to death. Within months, the most admired man in Europe is the most hated. Mobs surround his carriage. The regent, to save himself, must cut him loose. And so, at the end of 1720, John Law flees France. The man who had controlled its entire fortune leaves with almost nothing, his own wealth tied up in worthless shares and seized estates. He returns to what he always was, a gambler drifting the tables of Europe. He dies in Venice in 1729, poor and largely alone. And here is the part that should unsettle you. John Law was not entirely wrong. Paper money, central banks, companies funded by selling shares to the public, these are not con tricks. They are the foundations of the entire modern world. You use them today. He saw the future of money 300 years early. That was his genius. But he also proved the dark secret buried inside that future. When you can print the money and sell the story, you can inflate anything to the heavens. And the higher it climbs on nothing but belief, the more certain and the more total the crash. The South Sea bubble, the crash of 1929, the dot-com mania, the crisis of 2008, every speculative frenzy since is the same experiment run again. A new asset, a thrilling story, easy money to buy it with, and at the very top, the quiet sound of the insiders selling. France was so scarred that it would not even use the word bank for generations, but it learned nothing that lasted. Because the flaw John Law exposed was never in the paper, it was in us, in how badly we want to believe that this time the money is real and the rise will never stop. John Law conjured a fortune from paper and a story, and a nation handed him everything. The next man in the vault did it not with a swamp, but with the most trusted institution on earth. That story is already waiting for you, here in the vault. The history of money is the history of crime. Welcome to the vault.